Hello and welcome to the Rangers Rabble Academy review of the whole season. As you can see, it's just me at the moment, but I'm hoping to be joined by Kerr at some point in the not too distant future. We're just going to look back at the B team and the under 18s, chat about if it was success or failure in certain competitions, and look ahead to, possibly players moving into the first team next year. All being well, I would like to see a couple more players, be part of the pre-season, but obviously we'll find out that over the next couple of months. Kate, it looks like Kerr's sitting in the background, so we'll see if we can try and add him. All right,
Sorry,
mate.
well, I'm a bit windswept and wet, but that's me just in.
Good man. I know you said you've enjoyed me, so it's fine, mate. I was just obviously saying that we're going to kind of chat about the B team, a wee bit about the 18s, which I'll obviously mainly touch on since I kind of go to those games, and we're going to look ahead to maybe some players that can make the step up to the first team next year. Thanks again to everybody for joining us. If you want to just join in the comments section, if you leave us any questions, we'll try to answer them best we can. Or if you've got anything else you want to just kind of chat about, let us know. Right, well, can I crack on with the first part of it? Talking about the B team league season, who impressed? Was finishing second good enough? And did anybody deserve that breakthrough towards the end of the season, i.e. guys like Cole McKinnon, Adam Devine, Robbie Fraser, Ross McCausland, Leon King, Alex Lowry, etc. So, yeah, I'll come to you. Do you think finishing second in the Lowland League was a success, or do you think we could have potentially won that league?
Probably, if you look at it, you could probably say we maybe could have won it, but I think second's fine. Because if you win it, you're only going to go up anyway. But I think it's the benchmark maybe for back in it next season to say we're going to win this. So finish seconds, because the team that finished top haven't up anyway, haven't they? So to be fair, it's a good experience for the guys, because I was at a few of the games, one myself, and I know the guys technically, maybe quality wise, weren't the same as the boys, but they were more physical. I was more demanding against them, because the guys haven't had experience playing against,
Yeah.
I want to say, men, for example, because a lot of the guys we're playing against before that were guys their own age. But I was a step up for some of them, especially physically. But they equipped herself really well, and you can see how well they've done with the boys getting called up for the academy team and the first team, or sitting on the bench in the first team, or just training with the first team. So it shows what you've always been talking about as a pathway there, and I think that's what they're looking at. And but remember, you probably know yourself, Ollie, but a lot of the boys in the academy team this season, they're only just the same age. A lot of younger ones involved.
Yeah.
So that is quite a big difference stature wise as well, and it's a good experience for them, I think, in that league, because like I say, maybe the teams on the same quality wise, but they were physical, and there's a lot of ex professionals in the league, as in maybe playing in the Championship, League One, maybe one or two played in the Premiership before. So some teams did have a few good players in them.
Yeah, look, I think the one thing that stood out earlier on in the season, we can even look back at some of the early results. We beat Bo'ness 2-0. And then we beat Spartans away, which I thought would have been one of the kind of tougher games. Looking at this, the sort of quality of the squads, I thought they would be one of the stronger teams. And in the end, they did actually prove to be decent, because they finished fifth. With them went away to East Stirlingshire, which I actually thought they were excellent that day, East Stirlingshire. And it took a moment of brilliance for Cole McKinnon to give us a 1-0 win. And then probably the first wee bump in the road that we've seen was a 3-1 defeat at home by Civil Service Strollers. And on the night, to be fair, I thought Civil Service were excellent. And then I think the one that a lot of people were talking about early on was East Kilbride. Obviously, they brought in a lot of good players sort of during the COVID spell. And I think when you looked at the start of the season, they were probably right up there as one of the favourites to win that league. In the end, that kind of proved not to be the case. But I think when we beat them, I think that was a big confidence boost for the players. To actually beat a team of that quality who had a lot of guys that had played in the SPFL was a big thing for our lads, sorry. And I think it really kind of gave us a bit of a spur, because after that we went on a pretty good run of results. We beat Dumbarton in the Cup, and we beat Gretna 9-1, Stirling Uni 5-0, Edinburgh Uni 3-0, and Vela Leafin 9-0. And that kind of took us up to the game that you obviously came along to, the Bonnie Rose away game. And I think, yet again, you're going back to the East Kilbride scenario, where you're talking about a team that were probably one of the favourites to win the league, and in the end they proved to be the best team in the league. But see, to go there and put on that performance that day, Kerr, do you think that showed that this group of players were good enough to win the league on their day?
Yeah, it does, because it was intimidating for them as well, because the crowd are quite close to the park. There's a big crowd there that day we were there, and I mean, I felt it was quite intimidating for us, because wasn't a lot of us, to be fair, but must have been quite intimidating for the boys. But some of the Bonnie Rose players are decent players.
Yeah,
There's a couple of guys in there, you know their names for when we playing the Championship or League One, so they've got a decent standard, and they're a big physical side as well, weren't there? There's a few guys in that team who were well over 6 feet tall, but they were well built, and they're young lads that kept themselves healthy. Yeah, they're quicker, they're technically better, but I know something in the comments has said they're getting challenges in that league they might not get in the SPL, because
yeah,
a lot of heavy tackling's getting outlawed nowadays. So it's toughened a lot of them up, and I mean, at the end of the season coming there, I know they finished second, but some of the games were missing some of the better players as well, because Alec Lowry was with the first team, Leon was with the first team, so they're missing guys as well, and other guys are stepping up. So
yeah.
obviously you've seen that yourself, but I didn't expect so many players to come through the academy, well, to be honest with you, but I think they've all deserved a chance, because they've all kind of proved themselves on the day they
Yeah.
deserve a chance to come and play. And I think you can see one or two maybe above the rest, but they all get the ability, and I think it's just belief in themselves and hard work. And you never know what's in future for them, because I think a lot of them can look forward to a long career at Rangers.
Right, we'll move on to the kind of next kind of section of the season. Obviously, after the victory against Bonnie Rig Roads, we played Ayr United in the Cup, which we were actually defeated by Ayr United, but they decided to bring on two substitutes late in the game, who in the end were found out to be ineligible. They weren't able to actually play in the tie, so Rangers were awarded a 3-0 win, which I think it is fair to say that on that particular night we didn't deserve to go through. So Ayr were the better team. They had better quality than us on the pitch, but obviously because of the two late substitutions that they made, it meant that we were through to the next round of the SPFL Trust Trophy. We then moved on to Gallifreydine Rovers, where we lost 2-1. Yet again, one of those ones where after you did such a good result away at Bonnyrigg, maybe the players just went into that game feeling they could just turn up and win it. It didn't prove to be that way. And then obviously the UEFA Youth League kicked in at that point. From memory, I think you were at that game as well, Kerr, weren't you? The Hammarby game, I thought we played really well at home. I think it was 3-0 in the end, if my memory serves me right. Ross McCausland, I'm just trying to check here. Yep, Ross McCausland at 2 and Robbie Ure get 1. What did you make of the standard of the sort of UEFA Youth League in the kind of early games?
Actually, we didn't really know much to make of Hammarby, because we were
No.
expecting Hammer to be what we looked up on. Hammarby were coming to be a decent side, but I thought Rangers boys were far better in every department. And that night, if I remember right, McCausland was superb, wasn't he? The goals he scored, and it's just the way he plays football. You've seen it against Hearts, he can get by folk, he can go either side, he can put decent balls in, and I thought we were far better side, because I remember the Hammarby, a couple of guys that were getting looked at by other teams in Europe, and we thought they were going to come here and prove to be really good, but no, Rangers have kept themselves really well, and I think that gave them a bit of confidence going into the next few games they had to face the other teams in Europe, Europa League, Youth League.
Yeah, I think the impressive thing that way is again, we didn't obviously know much about Hammarby. There's not a lot of stuff you can actually catch online with that type of level of the game, so that was the problem. But on the night, I thought we played really well, and you're right. Ross scored a couple of really good goals, and obviously Robbie bagged another goal, which kind of showed you his season. When you look at Robbie, I think it was 16 for the B team and 25 for the 18s, so 41 goals he scored this year. So I think he'll be a huge player for the B team next season, but we'll kind of come on to that. We obviously went away to Hammarby not too long after that and got a great 2-1 victory. Yet again, it was Euron McCausland that bagged the goals. We then had a 3-1 victory against Cali Braves, a 3-2 victory away at Alloa, which was probably the first time that most people will have seen Juan Alegria kind of show his ability at that level. We then kind of on a run of games in the lower league, we beat Berwick 1-0, a 1-0 defeat to Bo'ness, And then a couple of quick fire games. It was a 3-2 victory over Cumbernauld Colts and a 2-0 defeat to Dalbeattie. We then kind of went on to a spell of games yet again, like the European games kicked in. So we had the double header against September Sofia. Rangers winning 4-2 in Bulgaria thanks to a hat-trick from Tony Weston and a goal from Cole McKinnon. In between those games, we had a 5-1 defeat away at Cove, which I have to be honest, that night in Cove, we were totally outplayed. Cove were excellent. And I think anybody that's seen, like Cove this season at that level, they were probably the best team in League One. And it kind of showed maybe where Rangers are between the kind of lowland league and League One. You're sort of top of League One compared to the lowland league. That's maybe, we're kind of in between that. And that's where we're trying to obviously find that balancing act of, like sort of progressing the young players, developing them. But obviously those kind of defeats I think can be good for players because it can be a reality check for them. And I think that can be a good thing. I'll just touch on some of the comments as well, just while we're kind of chatting. CGM saying Lowry and King obviously will be with the first team next season, but I think McCann and Cole McKinnon will feature too. Not too sure about Tony as he's still a bit small for me. Yeah, look, I think you're absolutely spot on, CGM. I think we like sort of Lowry and King, I think they are the obvious ones. They've obviously been on the bench quite a lot recently. They've played games, they've come off the bench. So yeah, they are obviously right in the manager's plans. Charlie McCann and Cole are the interesting ones. I suppose depending on how the summer transfer goes, those two players might either step up and be part of the pre-season with the first team so the manager can have a look at them, and it might be at that point a decision's made on whether they go out on loan or whether they'll stay as part of the squad. What's your gut instinct with that, Kerr? Do you think Charlie McCann and Cole will stay with the first team, or do you think that we'll probably recruit in that position and it might mean that both guys need to go out on loan to just get kind of more game time?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I think it's all ifs and buts at the moment. It depends who we bring in. And it looks like it's like a good few players will leave the first team squad just for the fact out of contract, maybe moving on, vice versa. But I think Cole and Charlie should be involved in pre-season anyway, because I think you can see the ability they've got in themselves. They're young, they're hungry, and they've seen what Alex done and Leon's done in the first team when they've played. I mean, Cole come on and scored against Hearts. Everybody say it's a end of season match, but he started to put the ball in it. And
100%.
Charlie's been involved. Charlie's been involved a few times, and plus he's pulling Northern Ireland as well. So I think they should be involved. Like, I think it doesn't matter their age. I think the both of them are good enough to be involved at the end of the day. And I think they could give us, if they get involved and they give us something, the manager might turn around and say, "I can rely on these two."
Yeah.
It might move the money to another part of the team that we need maybe to spend more, because I think we need to strengthen the first team squad in a few areas. So if Colin Charlie can step into the first team squad and help out, I'll be happy with that, because I think the two of them are good enough.
Right, we'll just touch on some of their comments. They're not necessarily questions, but we'll just kind of touch on some of them. Daz is saying that he thinks Adam Devine is next one. I think he will have a chance. Yeah, look, Adam's certainly not looked out of place, which has been really good for him. And obviously at the moment, Zakowski, I think, is injured. So Adam was given his opportunity to come off the bench and then obviously start. So yeah, hopefully Adam can be another one that's part of the squad. Chris is saying the boys will get a full pre-season under Gio. When you recognise the difference in fitness mid-season, it can only bode well for the players for a full pre-season. Another one from Chris as well. He's saying, I like the way McKinnon took his goal against Hearts, something you were obviously just touching on. It was a instinct finish with the ball being behind him. Obviously, you're a big fan of Cole's. You spoke about him several times, even before maybe like the goal against Celtic at Parkhead in his debut. You were a big fan of Cole's. You obviously watch a lot of football. I mean, I think that was 16 goals for the B team this year for Cole, and then obviously on his debut for the first team, he obviously scored as well. What do you see in Cole's game, and where do you think his best position is if he is going to become part of the first team?
I think he probably can. I think his best position, he's a box-to-box midfielder for me. He can defend and he can attack. He's probably better offensively than what I've seen, but he's not scared to get stuck in, which I like now. I know some tackles in football you gotta do nowadays, but Cole's one if they're defending, he'll get behind the ball and help out. Do you know that way? He can move the ball quick. He can slow it down when needs be. but he gets into the box late at times, and that's what I like. He makes the late runs. He doesn't go when everybody else goes. He times his runs, and you've seen that. That's how he's probably picked up so many goals. He can shoot for distance, or he can
Yeah.
win the box and score inside the penalty area. It's just his all-round game. Well, I know he's still young and he's playing with the academy, but there's so much things. He's got so many attributes, things I like about him,
Yeah.
and I just think he sometimes can just tell by a guy. And Cole's won it, and I'll say to you, if they win it, I really like what I see here. And I just think he's got everything in his locker. It can make him a first-team player. I just hope he knows that himself because a wee bit of hard work, and by all accounts, as a hard worker. I was speaking to somebody who used to coach him at, I can't remember the team now, Drumsgard or something like that it was
Yeah.
called. Yeah, and they were saying that he was the same there. He was always working hard. He didn't really piss about as some players do at that young age. And he always knew he had something different compared to everybody else. And I just think he has. I think if he keeps his head where it is, keeps working hard, Cole will make a first team player. Hopefully at Rangers, but we'll make a first team player somewhere. But I think he's got the attributes to come into Gio's plans next season. Might not be a regular, but I think he can come off the bench and help out when needed.
Right, well, can I move on to, I guess, a little bit kind of later in the season now? Obviously, we spoke about the September Sofia victory and then the Cove defeat. After that, we played Spartans. We won 7-1, and then we defeated the Bulgarians at home 3-0. Tony Weston with a double and Cole McKinnon again. We then had the defeat away at East Kilbride 2-1 before beating Partick Thistle in the Glasgow Cup 3-0. Then a couple of heavy victories against Edinburgh Uni and Vale Leafin 8-2 and 6-0. We then obviously played Sevilla in the UEFA Youth League where we were defeated 1-0. On the day, I thought that was probably fair. I thought Sevilla were very good, even on that pitch, which was pretty atrocious on the day. They deserved to get through. We'll just kind of touch on some of the other games. The 9-0 victory against Clyde in the Glasgow Cup. I thought that was one of our best performances of the season. I know Clyde had put out a kind of French team, but I just thought the football that night was exceptional. We played Celtic in the Glasgow Cup in the group stages. It was a 1-1 draw. Charlie McCann, I think most people seen that goal. It was a quality finish. A 2-0 victory against Queen's Park. Tory Weston at the double. Then obviously the game at Ibrox that obviously a lot of people were at. I guess Celtic 3-0. McCausland, Lowry and Weston. And then obviously we played Celtic again not too long after that, a 1-0 victory at Parkhead, which was quite an intimidating atmosphere that night, I would say, for the lads. And then obviously, again, we played Celtic like about a week or two later. It was a 2-2 draw at the training ground, and we won 5-4 in penalties. Ross McCausland and Cole McKinnon, they just seems to keep cropping up with those goals. And then obviously for anybody that was at the Glasgow Cup final, a 3-1 victory for Rangers. Cole McKinnon, funnily enough, Robbie Ewer and Charlie McCann. See, when you play against Celtic, there's obviously a lot of talk about who's the better team at that level.
Yeah.
Celtic in the games in the lower league have played younger players than Rangers, so Rangers have obviously been that little bit older. But I think the one that stood out for me was the Glasgow Cup semi-final, because they had Christopher Julian and Mikey Johnston playing.
Yeah.
We didn't have anybody like that in the team. I know people could argue that obviously Alex Lowry playing that day and Leon, I think, played as well. But Christopher Julian cost Celtic a lot of money.
Yeah,
And Mikey Johnston has played a lot of games for the first team. The same can't really be said for Alex and Leon. So I felt that day we were outstanding. I thought we stood up to a lot of Celtic pressure early on. And also Ross McCausland scored one of the best goals I've seen this season. It was an absolute unbelievable finish. I'm sure a lot of people probably watched it on YouTube, I think it was that day. And then Charlie McCann with a lovely pick out for Cole McKinnon.
Yeah.
As you were talking about, that box-to-box run,
Yep.
where he just times it to perfection, takes the ball down and finishes it. And I think that's the most impressive thing for me about Cole, the way that he moves the ball, the way that he makes those runs, and he does it so well. Just looking at the top goal scorers over the season, Tony Weston, this is friendlies as well, so I haven't went through those results in those games for obvious reasons, because at times it's a bit hit and miss with regards to the opposition, but I have added those goals to the total for anybody that's listening. I wrote them all down here, so it might take a couple of seconds. I've only picked the top 7 or 8. Tony Weston had 38 goals over the season. Ross McCausland had 18. Cole McKinnon, 16. Robbie Ewer, 16. Charlie McCann, 14. Juan Alegria, before he went out on loan, had 13. And Alex Lowry finished on 12. So, yeah, finishing second in the Lowland League, 14 points behind Bonnie Rig Rose. When you look at the end of that season, Kerr, obviously beating Celtic at Ibrox, beating Celtic at Parkhead, getting by Celtic in the Glasgow Cup semi-final, did that show the mentality that this squad have got, and maybe that's just toughened them up as well?
It does, and I think, yourself, when you play Celtic at any level, any age group, doesn't matter what the competition is, there's always a rivalry because both teams want to come out on top. So beating them in the Glasgow Cup semi-final, beating them in the league, and then not really then beating them at Ibrox very easily, the game that everybody was at, it shows you the mentality of the lads. It's like, I'm not saying it's like they say we've got Celtic, we know how to beat this team, but
Yeah,
the mentality is great, their confidence is great, but they're tuned into what they have to do.
yeah,
Do you know what I know? It's no arrogance, but they know what they've got to do and they do it well. And I think a lot of these players have played this season together. I don't know if they've been together for a long time. You'll probably know better than me, but it's like they know each other's game quite well. You can
yeah,
see that when Cole makes runs, people are picking him out, or when Tony's in the box, know where he is, and Alex glides through games and he can pick a pass, but sometimes Alex can pick a pass even looking because he knows where his teammate's going to be. I think you can see that in that team, and even at the back, their confidence in not conceding. And it doesn't matter if Leon's playing or not, the defence seems to play the same way. So I think there's a confidence about that team. It'll be good to see them next season, as in, because obviously a few players are moving up to the first team, or a few players have been released because of their ages, and there'll be others coming through, the younger ones. So it's good, and it's a good challenge for them. I think they can look
yeah,
back this season as a success, because even playing Hearts in that the cup final, sorry, that was a tough game, because Hearts won their bad side, and Hearts dug deep, but Rangers, as we do, they dug deeper and they won. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, that's what you got to do, but they didn't let the occasion get to them. They just
yeah.
kept doing what they were doing, and they got the result.
Right, we'll touch on a couple more questions because obviously we were kind of talking for quite a few minutes there, so there's been a few more questions. A couple of guys asking the same question. What about Stephen Kelly? Yeah, look, Stephen still has a year officially at Rangers, so it'll be interesting to see what happens this summer. CGM, do you think Stephen Kelly will be moved on? By all accounts, did well at Salford. Yeah, look, I've never kind of hidden how much I rate Stephen. I think he's a fabulous footballer. I think this summer feels like probably the right time to move, unless Gio sees differently. I think at Stevens' age, he needs to be playing regularly, and I would imagine Salford would take him back in a heartbeat. Whether that's Rangers allowing him to leave for free, but with maybe like a sell-on clause, or if Rangers are looking for a fee and something to be
Yeah.
added on. But look, I mean, I'll never hide my admiration for Stephen. He is certainly one of the best players I've seen during my time watching the academy. So yeah, I mean, I would wish Stephen all the best if he did move on this summer. Couple more points. Paul saying if some of the young guys can come in at the first team and play some part over the next season, that can only benefit us, of course, and it saves the club a lot of money. I mean, Leon being a left-sided centre half, there's not a
Yeah.
lot of quality left-sided centre halves out there. Alex, I don't know if you can teach what Alex has. That's just a natural God-given ability to have the skills that he has and the ability. I mean, that goal at Tynecastle probably doesn't get spoken about enough. The way that he shifts his feet to score that goal is pretty ridiculous, to be honest. And if certain other players had scored that goal, there would probably been a lot more talk about it. Chris says, with the clear pathway in the development of Bassett will hopefully attract some quality young players. Yeah, I think that's a great point, Kerr. That's something I'll come to you on. Like, do you think that when like sort of people from out with the club, maybe younger players who are like sort of running out of contract and they want to come and play first team football somewhere, do you think they now look at Rangers because they've gave like Leon an opportunity, Alex, Cole, Adam, just to name some, and obviously be Calvin coming in from Leicester and then making such a huge statement this year? Do you think that helps Rangers entice other players from, say, somewhere in England?
It does, and I feel with Europa League getting to the final and the way I was Calvin's prettiest critic at the start of the season. I think you were similar to myself. We weren't writing him off. We just thought he needed something extra to his game, and
Yeah,
he's proved me wrong. And I have to say, I'm actually very happy about that because the guy's tremendous. But I think a lot of, as you know, a lot of teams in England this season, a lot of the young boys and under 23s especially, will be getting released. And they'll be looking to play first team football, and why shouldn't they look at Rangers? People say it's SPL, but we can offer a lot of these guys another route. We can offer them European football. We can offer them playing in front of 50,000 fans. We can offer one of the best stadiums in the UK. We can offer the best training ground in the UK. We can offer a lot of things to these guys that they can't get in England. The only thing we can probably not offer them is just as much money as they get down there. But if
Yeah,
you want
yeah,
to come up, you see the way Calvin's took it. You can even see the way Ahmed's took to it since he's came from Man United. The boy started poorly. I think he was just trying to find his feet, to be fair to him. But the last couple of games, Willie, you didn't see it at the start. He was running and he was chasing back. But then yesterday in the cup final, he was chasing back and tackling. I mean, he's not the biggest lad, but he's putting that dig in. You see a difference in him
yeah.
under Gio. You see it in Scott Wright, and I think these guys will be loving that because you see the way he celebrates and he's a lone player. Don't really see that with lone players. It's like, oh,
No,
that's my parent club and I'm getting back there. But he was right involved, so I think he'll be spreading the name. He'll be spreading the name about down England. I I think Calvin's going to have admirers all over England. I think he'll stay, but I think Gage will look at him and say, well, Leicester or Rangers, there's only really one place you would go, and I think we'll have a lot of teams, but we'll have a lot of teams losing players just for jigging finances or bringing on younger ones in and letting some go. But the English under 23 league's a good league. There's a lot of players down there. Yeah, they earn a lot of money. They won't put a lot of first team football, but they
yeah.
could improve Rangers. But saying that, we've got lot of young players coming through ourselves. So, in that other side of the stick, I'd rather give the boys that we have just now the chance first in the
Yeah.
first team before bringing younger guys in for somebody else, just because they've been with us and they're trying to prove. And one question I was going to ask you, I know it's not really the end, but do you think all the boys in the academy team that's had a chance in the first team, as in sitting on the bench or playing, do you think it deserved it, or do you think there's more to come for them all, or do you think one or two will drop away?
I think it's difficult because you don't really know what the plan is for some of the players because obviously you don't get that kind of information for the coaches. From my own point of view, I could understand why there was so many. I was probably surprised that maybe one or two of them made the bench against Hearts, if I'm honest. But I think it was fair to like guys like Robbie Fraser deserved to be there. Robbie had
Yeah,
been very consistent. Cole had been very consistent over the season. I thought with Kane and Murray it was probably a slight surprise. But yet again, that's great for these lads to have that kind of experience. Are like Murray and Kane going to make it at Rangers? I think if you're honest, probably not. But like the guys probably know that as well. But it's one of those situations where when you get that opportunity to make the step up to the first team, it's like it must be unbelievable to be sat on the bench. And it's not a
yeah,
criticism of Murray or Kane by any stretch of the imagination. But like you look at the level that Leon's at and the level that Alex is at,
yeah,
that's where you need to be to get into the first team. And even though Murray's had a very good season in the Lowland League and Kane's had a very good season as well, I think it just shows you where you need to be if you're going to even have a chance of starting a game or coming off the bench. And I mean, even like Tony, Tony scored 38 goals this year, and he only got minutes in the last game of the season, even though we've had
yeah.
several strikers out injured. So that shows you how difficult it is to actually make that step up. It's extremely difficult. And this is the thing that not everybody that's in like the Rangers Academy is going to make it at Rangers. I mean, that's clear to everybody. But
I'll just
if
say one more thing, Willie, on the Charlie McCann. I mean, Charlie came from Man United.
yeah,
Man United never freed him. They offered him a new deal,
yeah,
and we just had to buy him because he was down to the last. But they offered him an extra year, and he didn't take it, and he came to us. So obviously he thinks I've got a far better chance of getting a game through at Rangers than I have at Man United. To be fair,
yeah.
he could probably get a game at Man United at the moment, but it just shows you. I mean, obviously he costs a bit of money. I don't know if there's any add-ons, but Charlie's a quality player, and they could probably get another club in England if he was leaving because when you come through like United's academy, or Liverpool's, or City's, or Chelsea, you always find a club somewhere. But he came to us, and you can see him when he's been playing. I mean, beat Celtic and stuff. You can see already what it means to him.
Yeah.
So I think he's one. I think he's got a big future as well, Charlie. And I think you can see why we went and got him.
No, 100%. I've been really impressed with Charlie since he's come in. You can see the technical ability he's got
Yeah,
and the football brain, and that's what's most impressive. And we'll hit on some more of the comments. We are the people saying, I wonder if Glenn Middleton might have a chance under Gio. It feels unlikely. It does feel like if Rangers can move Glenn on this summer, they probably will. Another one from CGM. Goal scoring midfielders are like gold dust. If Cole McKinnon is one, he's a major asset. Yeah, I think the club are looking to obviously tie Cole down to a longer deal. I actually bumped into him in Seville, funnily enough, Cole, as well as Jay Hogarth and Jack McConnell. And obviously, Cole was saying that he still has another year at Rangers as a bare minimum, so he's here until at least the end of 2023, or the season anyway. I think obviously the club are speaking to him about a new deal, so hopefully that goes well and we can get him sorted out on a far longer contract. William Houston asking, can Tony Weston make the step up? I don't think he'll make the step up to the Rangers first team this summer, because I think he'll go out on loan, because I think Rangers will want to see what he can do at maybe League One or the Championship level. But I mean, like, just looking at Tony over the season, he's scored a lot of different types of goals. He's a good natural goal scorer. And also a big thank you to Tony for giving me that signed ball. That's something we're going to have through the Rangers Rabble Twitter page. We're going to do a wee giveaway for that, as well as Leon King's signed boots. Thanks for that, Leon. What age is Adam Devine? He did not look out of place. I think Adam's 19. But yeah, look, he didn't look out of place against Hearts, certainly. I thought he did an excellent game. And obviously he was part of Alex scoring his goal as well. So that was great for him. Thomas is saying Cole McKinnon could learn a lot from Lundstrom and Jack. Of course. I think that's the one thing you learn when you're a younger player, that when you make the step up, there's a level of respect that you'll get straight away from the older players.
Yeah.
But you've also got to work hard. You know, you can't become a Billy Big Boy straight away and roll in all of a sudden with your 50 grand car and your fancy suits and all that. I don't think that goes down well with like a lot of the older pros still. I think they feel as though like you've got to earn it, and you've got to do it on the training pitch, and then you've got to do it on the pitch. And I think that's still a cultural thing up here, that I think like the hard work comes first. And like you don't just walk into the first team and think you're all of a sudden made it, you know. And I think that's the really impressive thing. Like, so Leon's had to work really hard to get this opportunity, and he's obviously taken it now. Alex is the same. He's had to work hard for a long time to get this opportunity. So whenever he's been in the team, he's took it with both hands. And it must be an unbelievable experience for these guys to be part of the team that went to Seville and part of the team that won the Scottish Cup there. I can only imagine how proud like the family must be, you know, to see these lads be part of that squad. It must be something quite incredible, to be honest with you. I'm just trying to see what other comments here that we can try and pick through, because there is quite a lot, to be fair. Michael saying, you've got to think that the number one objective next season will be the league. I would be tempted to be using the younger ones in the League Cup. This is obviously something we spoke about before, Kerr. I know, like, obviously at Rangers, there's an expectation that you won everything, but obviously the League Cup is probably seen as the lesser of the cups in Scotland. You know, the Scottish Cup is probably deemed to be the number one cup.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? Is that something you can see Rangers doing, or do you just think Rangers can't really do that because there's an expectation that they have to win it?
Probably a bit of both, isn't it? Probably every Rangers fan, as a Rangers fan, we want to win everything. Don't get me wrong, of course we do, and that's what the club should be aiming for. But I think you have to give youngsters a game, and I think sometimes in the League Cups, when you do give them games, because you know who's going to win in every game, 2 or 3-0, and you can bring guys on. But I think a lot of these guys, maybe not a lot of them, but maybe 1 or 2 will be playing some games next season for the start, like Alec and Leon. I mean, Leon's could probably get a better chance at this moment in time unless we sign another centre back, because Balogun, Herlander, and Suter can get injury prone. So I think we Leon and Massey, we could have 2 young centre backs. It wouldn't bother me if 2 of them played to Bonus Sweet Willie. I think the 2 of them are good enough, but I think Alec will get a chance. I think Gio's seen what he can offer, and Gio know when to play him and not to play him. And I think if he does really well, I mean, you don't know what midfield players are leaving. You don't know if it's Kamara. You don't know if Aribo's gone. Hadji, you're not sure who's going. But Alex is signing a new deal, so he's going to be there. But I think Alex he's a bit like Cole. He's got everything in his locker. Like you say, some of the things he does, you say to yourself, that guy's only a young boy and he's doing things like this. What can he do when he starts to hit his peak? But he's superb. He can score, he can create, but he just glides along the surface when running with the ball. Do you know that way? He reminds me a bit of Brian Laudrup the way he runs, and he's just superb. And I think we need to give these guys a chance. Why should we not? If they're good enough, play them. If it saves us money in the transfer market, like I said earlier, we can focus on other areas of the team and maybe need to upgrade. But Alex, it's one I think he's got to play next season. Well, maybe not every game, but he's got to be involved most games.
We'll just touch on some of the other comments and then we'll kind of move on to how the under-18s did this season. I'll touch on that mainly because obviously I was at those games. Stuart obviously touching on the fact we've been linked with a young player from Aberdeen called Lancelot Pollard. I think by all accounts, Rangers have obviously been linked to a few players. Lancelot is one that it does seem as though there is some interest on that factor. I think another one was Bailey Rice from Motherwell. It's been linked with the football club as well as some players from down in England. So it will be interesting to see. I'd imagine the club will look to confirm some of these kind of deals sooner rather than later. One of the lads saying, yes, keep bringing in the youngsters, need to kill matches off quickly so they can come on. Didn't go 3-0 up. Yeah, look, I think that's a fair point. And I think, obviously, with the five sub rule, I think that does allow to have maybe one or two younger players on the bench. Because if you do go 3-0 up, especially at home, it's a great opportunity to bring on some of the younger players. So hopefully that is something we will see. Is Leon King the Scottish Calvin Bassey? I don't know if anybody's the Scottish Calvin Bassey, to be honest. I mean, like Calvin, just some of the things he can do is just ridiculous. You know, what Leon is a very cultured centre back. And as I said earlier, to have somebody that can play in that left-hand side is almost invaluable because it's so difficult to get natural left-sided centre-backs. So to have somebody come through your academy with the level that Leon has, I think that's massive for the football club. And yeah, look, Leon could go on to become a real good player for Rangers if given the chance. CGM again touching on Charlie McCann, looks like a Stephen Davis clone. Yeah, again, I would imagine Charlie's worked a lot with Stephen in training. And I would imagine that's something that was part of maybe Charlie McCann's thinking when he moved from like the Republic Island, to Northern Ireland. And I think Charlie's going to be a really good player. It's just a matter of time before he does make that breakthrough. A couple of their lads are kind of talking about players who have been out on loan this season and obviously coming back. One of the ones that Stuart was touching on there, I think the club are trying to sell Josh. Yeah, look, I think it's a big summer for guys like Stephen Kelly, Kai Kennedy, Josh McPake, just to name a few of the guys. Because at the end of the day, if the manager doesn't see them being in his first team squad, then it's time to move on, isn't it? Because you can't just hang about forever. I think Stephen's got a year, Kai's got a year, and I think Josh has got 2. So it'll obviously come down to, where they move and, the fees involved and what Rangers are looking for. I'm sure there'll be quite a bit of movement this summer, one way or the other. Players coming in, players going out.
Just say, Willie, to you, was Josh McPake not succeeding in any loan spells? Is that a surprise to you? Because I knew you quite liked him when he was playing.
I mean, I think technically Josh is a fabulous footballer, and his ability to score goals from wide or through the middle. I don't know. I mean, like, so people have questioned Josh's attitude at times. I've never come across that in any of my dealings with Josh. He's always been very pleasant to me, happy to chat or whatever. So I've never seen that on a personal level. But yeah, he's obviously been out in quite a few loans now. And I think probably there's been like 2 successes where he's done well. I think he did really well in like League 2 last season.
Yeah.
And that's how he got his loan move this year to Morecambe. But obviously that didn't work out in League 1, and then he dropped back down to League 2 again in the second half of the season with Tranmere. So yeah, that'll be the interesting one, because Josh technically is a very good player, and somebody will get a really good player with Josh, just like Kai and just like Stephen. It might just be that they have to go to another level before they can make that step up again. So I think that's the interesting one. CGM saying next season I want to see Lowry starting ahead of people at Arfield. Yeah, that's obviously something that has been brought up quite a few times, that they would like to see Alex start ahead of a few others. Let's see what some of the other things are. Random Madness saying Lancelot and Bailey. I know it's crazy with some of the names, isn't it? These days. But Bailey Rice, I think by all accounts, is a very talented young Scottish player. Somebody the club have been looking at for quite a while. Yeah, again, obviously, it does seem as though now like Rory Wilson will be leaving. So whatever funds that Rangers get from that transfer can be put towards bringing in other players from other clubs to make us stronger. Because like you can't, I mean, just to touch on the 18s for 5 or 10 minutes, we'll kind of go through that. I mean, Rory Wilson scored 34 goals this year for the 18s. So like it's not easy. It's not easy to replace that kind of level of goals. So I think that's why we're being linked to guys like sort of Lancelot Pollard and Bailey Rice, because these guys are capable of scoring goals. Bailey from midfield, can score those goals. So it will be interesting to see who we actually go for and, how we're going to develop the player. Because to me, like, you can't just say that, like sort of Rangers are interested, so, that's enough for somebody to sign. These lads want to see a pathway into the first team now, and I think that's imperative that Rangers can show that to any young player that's interested. Okay, we'll touch on the 18s. I know a lot of guys won't have seen the 18s because most of the games this year have still been closed off due to kind of COVID and other reasons. Started off the season with a 3-1 defeat to Dundee United. We were actually quite a young team that day, with quite a few guys missing, I think, due to COVID, unfortunately. We lost 3-1. Rory Wilson with the goal. We then went away to Kilmarnock and won 2-0. Tyler Pasnick and Rory Wilson. We then lost 3-2 at the training ground to Celtic. Clayton Dunlop and Greg Allen with the goals. The first kind of big point of the season, I thought, was the Hibs defeat. That probably showed where Hibs were going to be this season. We lost 2-1 through at Hibs training ground. And then we went on a few victories. We beat Aberdeen, Dundee United and Motherwell before drawing with Aberdeen 3-3 at their training ground. Again, we went through a wee spell where we were playing quite well. A 4-0 victory against Kilmarnock, a 2-0 victory against Hamilton, and then a huge 2-1 victory against Celtic. And then obviously the kind of season kind of went up and down a little bit. We had a couple of really good back-to-back victories against Aberdeen in the league and the cup, 4-1 in each game. Again, we went to Hibs training ground and lost 4-2. Again, Hibs at that point were just, they were just a little bit better than us. And in the end, obviously, they went on to basically win the league. So, they kind of showed their consistency more than us. After that, we went to Hearts and we won 4-0. We backed that up with a 3-0 victory against Dundee United, a Robbie Ure hat-trick. We then drew 2-2 with Hibs. Wilson and Ure bagging the goals. In between that, obviously we had the biggest game of the season for me, and probably the one where the lads stood up the most. It was the Cup semi-final, the Scottish Youth Cup semi-final against Hibs, where we went to Hibs training ground. And after being defeated there twice in the league, for us to go there and put on the performance we did, I thought was exceptional. A 4-2 victory for Rangers. Goals coming from Charlie Lindsay, James Graham and Robbie Ure. And as most people will have probably seen on the television, we beat Hearts in the final 2-1. Darren McInally and Rory Wilson. We backed that up with a 2-1 victory against Celtic in the league before beating Hearts 3-1 and Hamilton Accies 4-0. And the last game of the season, although officially we do still have to play Hibs, but that game doesn't look as though it's going to happen now. We lost 3-1 to Motherwell at Ibrox, which was actually a really poor game from us. We really didn't show up in that game whatsoever. But overall, the 18s finishing second. They'll be disappointed because I do think that group are good enough to win that league. And I think that will be something that will be looked upon next season, because we will need to try and win the 18s league next year. Top goal scorers, Rory Wilson with 34, Robbie Ure with 25, Tyler Pasnick and Jack Roberts both scored 11, James Graham with 9 and Darren McInally with 9. So disappointing to finish second, just like the B team. But I think for guys like Greg Allen, who I thought was really, really good, 16-year-old that had a really good season. Obviously, Rory Wilson, 15, 16, had a really good season. But I think the problem with Rory is that, he possibly sees a better pathway somewhere else. It looks like somewhere like Villa could be his next step. I don't know if that's all been confirmed yet, but that certainly seems to be the way that, that's been kind of talked about. So that's why Rangers are now being linked with other players to replace somebody like Rory. Not that you can just obviously replace 34 goals in any shape or manner. CGM saying Rory Wilson should not be seduced by the money and stay where he is. He could quite easily get lost down in England at a team like Villa. Yeah, look, that's the same for any young Scottish player that goes to England. Some will do well, some will fade away, and they end up back in Scotland within a couple of years. But unfortunately, when it comes to these type of things, it's it's down to the agents, it's down to the player, it's down to the parents. All these decisions are all spoken about. I mean, I've not really spoke to Rory. I don't really, I see his parents at the games, but like I don't, I've never really had any like sort of discussions with them. It's not something I would bring up in the conversation either. Clearly, it's a very private matter that as well. But good luck to Rory when he does go, because he's been excellent for the 18s this year, and hopefully he does well wherever he goes. Stuart talking about the under 18s manager. Yeah, look, Cameron certainly has a head of hair. And he obviously took a bit of abuse after that cup final. Look, see, the one thing I would say about Cameron Campbell is he's a really nice guy, a really down-to-earth guy, somebody that has always been very pleasant to me, been very helpful, whenever we've asked him any questions. Obviously, he's got his own kind of style, and, the hair's just one of those things. I mean, I can't really complain because I've not got much hair left, so he's just lucky to still have that head of hair. Let's have a look. Billy Gilmer. Yeah, look, Billy's one of those interesting ones, isn't he? I'll come to you on that, Kerr. You obviously watch a lot of English football. Was that loan spell for Billy a success? And do you think it toughened him up? And do you think he has a future at Chelsea?
Chelsea, I'm not sure. To be honest with you, I think Tuchel might no fancy him. He might maybe wanting somebody, bringing somebody in a bit maybe more physical, depending how he wants to play. But I'm not sure if he's going to be at Chelsea much longer. Norwich will probably see himself. It's been probably a success. I know they get relegated, but he had more game time there.
Yeah.
It has toughened them up. He probably had to do a different side of the game, more defensive work than he probably previously done. So maybe added that to his locker, as in maybe doing stuff off the ball defensive or getting behind the ball when Norwich are defending at times. So he's probably uh, learn more about that side of the game and having the ball and try to create stuff like he was doing at Chelsea. Bully's going to have to be careful he doesn't get lost, like somebody else mentioned about young players, because I know he started really well at Chelsea and he was getting plaudits for quite a lot of people in Sky Sports and plaudits for the media and stuff. But you only get that for so long. If you don't keep producing it, you do get lost. Then people forget all about you. So he's going to have to be careful where his next move is going to be, because there's a lot of players down there, and you 1 minute you're the big star, and the next minute you are who's that again? I mean, it's like Jack Grealish. I know we got off topic, but he cost 100 million, didn't he?
Yeah.
Went to Man City, and he's only really set the head on fire, has he? You know,
No,
today they're going for the league, 2-0 down. They still don't bring him on.
I know.
And he cost him 100 million. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's not like 50 pence or 50 grand or whatever. It's a hell of a lot of money. And what wages he earn? And you think, was that a Pep signing? Was that just a signing to look good? And I don't know. I just think it's very easy to get lost down there. But I think somebody mentioned Everton and Lampard. Lampard could go back for him, because Lampard it was that played him, didn't he? And got probably the best out of the season. The only thing is Everton's a different side for Chelsea, aren't they? Everton's
Yeah.
always been a back foot more than Chelsea were. So I think Billy's going to have to think about his next move. Does he stick in at Chelsea, work hard, hopefully he does and gets back, or if he goes on loan, he's going to have to just don't jump at the first one that comes in. That's not always the right one. Just think where you want to go. But there's a lot of players down in England. I don't know if you've heard of Liam Delap that plays with City.
Yeah.
He scores quite a lot of goals from him. He's only 18, 19. But I've been told he's allowed to go on loan next season. They're not letting McAtee or Palmer out. I heard they're keeping them, but Liam has been told to go out. Now, wouldn't bother me if he came in Rangers, because I've seen him a few times. I think he's tremendous. There's a boy at Aston Villa as well, Cameron Archer. He's been on loan at Preston in the Championship. He scored quite a few goals from this season since he went on loan. I don't know if Gerrard rates him enough to stay there. But he's the type of player that could come up here and score a few goals. So there's guys down here that could come up here and do a job as well. But Billy Gilmer, somebody's typed he's overhyped. I mean, everybody's got opinions, but I think Billy's a tremendous player. But I
Yeah.
just think he's going to be careful where he goes to. But I also think he needs to play in a team that appreciates him as well.
Yeah, 100%. See, I think
'Cause
that's the problem, as you've said, though, isn't it? It's like you can go from being up here in England to where, guys like Souness and Neville are talking about you, that you're going to be this, that, and the next thing. And then obviously when like Lampard was obviously sacked and Tuchel came in, and there was a slight kind of change and kind of emphasis on how the team was playing. And then I think a lot of people felt like the loan move to Norwich was a good one, because he was going to get 30 plus games in the English Premier League. He was going to be a consistent games. he was going to get a lot of the stuff that he wasn't going to get at Chelsea, and it's obviously maybe not worked out that way. And it's scary how quickly things can change. I mean, you look at like the lad Conor Gallagher.
Yeah.
He's obviously did like the English Championship. He got his move to Crystal Palace, and that's been a game changer for him.
Yep.
He's went to Palace and is now probably one of the most sought after midfield players in the country. And
Yeah.
he will probably get back to Chelsea, and he'll probably be ahead of Gilmour now.
Yeah.
And that's how quickly it can change. You can go from being up there to being down here in the space of like a year.
Yep.
And then it's hard to then get that level again. It's hard to then get that chance. Because at the end of the day, Chelsea, even though they're under sanctions at the moment, whenever the takeover happens, they'll just put more money in and they'll just spend and spend and spend. And that's where the difficulty comes for somebody like Billy. I mean, I was lucky enough to watch Billy at Rangers, and the ability he had at such a young age was just ridiculous. He could do things with the ball that I've never seen, and his ability to see a pass and to move into space it was unbelievably good. I know there's been a lot of talk about Billy coming back here in the summer, and I wouldn't be against that, but I wouldn't want to get too excited with Billy coming back because it would only be a loan, because I don't really see how we could afford to buy him.
Yeah.
And that's where you have that difficulty with the loan players, because obviously somebody like Ahmad's never going to be signed by Rangers.
No.
Because the money that Man United paid for him, they're not going to sell him, and Rangers couldn't afford to buy him. And that's the same with Billy Gilmour. My kind of gut instinct with loan players is that you bring guys in who potentially actually sign for the club. I know it's not always feasible to do that. If you can get a great loan in, take it. But I think with Billy, it'd be tough to watch Billy in a Rangers jersey for a season, knowing that straight afterwards he would be back to Chelsea and, they could cash in on him. Paul's bringing up a good point as well. Seen Rangers made inquiries about an ex-Ajax player after they paid £5 million for. His parent club said that Rangers are still interested in him. I think that's just, that's going to come back a lot, isn't it? The link to Holland with Dave Voss and Giovanni. It's obviously a league that they'll have really strong knowledge of. I would imagine we will see a couple of players, maybe not necessarily Dutch players, but guys who have played in the Eredivisie. I would imagine that's something we will see this summer. Would you have Billy back for a season or Ramsey? Look, good to see you again, mate. Tell Tony I was asking for him. Hope all's well with you as well, mate. What's your gut instinct on that, Kerr? Would you rather have Billy back on loan, or if somebody like Aaron Ramsey gets paid off, would you take Aaron back?
I would only take Aaron Ramsey back if it was a pay-as-you-play deal. I wouldn't take him back on a wage. I don't think he's worth that gamble.
Right.
No time of his own. He's came. He's tried to stay fit. He hasn't. Yeah, I know football focus on the penalty. Anybody can miss a penalty. Yeah, that's anybody can miss that night. But I just think his overall contribution to the team has not been great for when he's brought in. I think that's one of the reasons we lost the league. I think the January window was poor. There's a chance of bringing in Aaron or Billy. I'll probably bring Billy back just for the fact that he's not as injury prone. And I think Aaron Ramsey will struggle to find the club due to the fact if he's looking for a high wage or because his injury record over the last few while. Because he is a good player. We can't deny he's not a good player. It's never worked out at Rangers.
No. I don't think too many could argue with that. Obviously, the fitness side of things is the biggest worry with Aaron. I don't think anybody disputes his ability. I don't think anybody ever will, because the career he's had would show you that. But obviously, injuries are a huge issue. And if Aaron was available in the summer, where Juventus are going to have to pay up his contract or agree to some type of payment up to his contract, whatever it is Aaron's looking for, then it would be up to Aaron to decide what he wanted to do. But I'm sure a lot of clubs would still be interested, but it would be in a much lower wage or on a pay-as-you-play deal, which has obviously been touted about by a couple of different journalists. Well, can I touch on the kind of final part of the pod then? Who do you see moving up to the first team next year? And why do you think they should be moved up to the first team?
Leon and Alec, obviously, because I think they've got the ability, the confidence, but they've proved that already that they can make a difference, or they can be part of a team who are going to be fighting for honours next season. I think Cole and Charlie should be in the squad, looking for game time, maybe getting game times. I think the two of them are good enough. And I like Ross. I like Ross McCausland or something about the lad. I think we've not got an out-and-out winger like him. I know he reminds me a bit of Neil McCann, to be honest with you. He just likes to beat players. He can go either side. He can shoot, and I don't just like the way Ross plays. I know is he a wee bit younger than the rest of them, isn't he?
I think
Slightly.
Ross is still only 18 at the moment.
Yeah. But I like the way he plays, and I thought when he came on against Hearts, he was really good. And even watching him for the academy team, I thought he's been really good. He's exciting. And sometimes, I know, I mean, we've got that in Kent. I love Ryan Kent at bats. I know a lot of folk disagree, but I would never drop Ryan Kent because I just think he offers you something we've not got. Yeah, his finishing lets him down badly. If he's a finisher, he'd be worth mega bucks and we would be able to sell him for that. His finishing lets him down. His final ball could improve as well, but just when he runs with people, you just get excited watching that. I think Ross has got that in his game. Obviously, you see him more than me, but I like the way Ross plays. He likes to get by folk. He can cut left, cut right. He can score. I like Ross. I think hopefully he's in. Might not be in the first team, but I hope he's in with a shout, pushing, knocking at the door. I think he could be, but the others should be looking for it as well. It depends how hard they work, but you should see there's a pathway there. It's up to each and every individual. Gio showed them that if they're good enough, they'll get a chance. But I think Alec, Leon, Charlie, and Cole will be the four that'll be in contention next season.
Okay, I'll kind of talk a little bit about the guys moving up from the 18s to the B team. So anybody that's going to watch the B team next year, I'll kind of put some names forward. It might be that you see somebody else who can come in and do better, etc. These are things that will obviously, and obviously there will be some new signings, which obviously at the moment we don't know who they are, but we can talk about them when the pre-season kicks in. For me, I think Robbie Ewer's going to have a big season in the B team. I just think Robbie's a monster. He's already got that physical size. His link-up play's improved a lot. As I say, he scored 41 goals, I think it is, between the B team and the 18s, which is a ridiculous statistic, really. And Robbie's just getting better and better and better. And I think in the lower league next year, if Robbie stays fit the whole season, you're probably looking at 25 goals. He's more than good enough to score 25 goals in the Lowland League, Robbie. Charlie Lindsay, I really like Charlie. I think this season he's been unlucky. He's been kind of stuck in between the 18s and the B team, and I'm not so sure that's helped him. I think it would have been better if he'd been just part of one of the squads and he could have had a level of consistency over the season. I think it's hard to go from sitting on the bench for the 18s to then sitting on the bench for the B team and then starting for the 18s. I think that can be difficult for players, but I think Charlie will be a big player in the Lowland League next year. Another couple of players, Greg Allen, who was signed from Hearts last year. I really like him. He's a really talented young centre-back, somebody I think has got huge potential. Connor Allen next to him, who in the main is a midfield player, but has dropped back to centre-back and he's not looked out of place. Been really impressed with Connor. I think he has got massive potential, and it's just about being given that opportunity at B team level, but I think he could be really good. One that probably a lot of people haven't heard about is Jack Harkness. Jack's a really, really good fullback. He's really aggressive going forward. Very much in the same vein as like an Adam Devine and a Robbie Fraser. He just wants to get forward. He wants to get higher up the pitch. It's tough to say too much about Kevin Kiabataru, the young Romanian, because he's only played a small amount of games. But yet again, he looks like he's of a similar style, that he wants to be aggressive. He wants to get forward. The midfield players, I'm not too sure what the current state of play is. I know Leighton Dunlop and Mackenzie Strachan are out of contract this summer, so I don't know where we stand on those two players. Both have been good for Rangers. Whether they maybe see their future elsewhere or not, I'm sure we'll find that out soon. Darren McInally has come back from missing basically a full year of football, and Darren's been sensational for the 18s, absolutely sensational. And he's probably one of the biggest reasons we went on to win the Youth Cup this year. He was so powerful, so strong in many of those games, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in the B team next year. I fully think James Graham can be dangerous, but the problem for James is he's really struggled to stay fit this year. Tyler Pastic is another who, see when Tyler's at it, there's not many better, but when Tyler drops out of games, he can be anonymous, and that's where you need to find that sort of consistency as a young wide player, isn't it? Because it's easy to lose your confidence, and then it doesn't sort of come back as quickly as you would like. But yeah, look, the B team is going to look very different next year. It's probably not going to be as strong as what the B team was this year, But that's a good thing because it means that maybe some of these younger players will be pushed harder and developed harder than what maybe some of the team have this year. And that's what it's all about. It's all about patience, having patience with these young players and giving them the opportunity to play. Um, Luke's saying that they're all still young lads. They've just got to be patient and take their chances. 100%, mate. 100%. That's the thing. Patience is everything in football. But one of the things that most football fans don't have is patience.
No.
and that's where you find that tough balancing act. Um, yeah, Rangers do have a poor record of bringing through strikers, and it's something that has disappointed me. And it is. It's such a fine line with like just going out and spending money on somebody or giving somebody that opportunity to play. And I think that's the fine balancing act that the
Yeah.
manager has. I mean, for me, I just think like when it comes to Tony, I think Tony needs to go out and loan and play. I said it earlier on in the pod, and
He
I
does.
don't, and my opinion's not going to change on that. I just think if Tony can go out and play 30 plus games in League One or 30 plus games in the Championship and score 10, 12, or 15 goals, that'll make even more teams sit up and take like notice of Tony. And that's what you have to do as a striker. You've got to show that you can do it at all the different levels,
Yeah.
you know. And until he probably does that, it's tough to go for the Lowland League to the top flight. It's really tough, especially as a striker, because
Yeah.
you see the different levels as you slowly go up. You've seen guys who have scored a lot of goals, like the boy McAllister that scored all those goals at Peterhead, and then he moved to Cove, but he's never played in the Championship or the Premiership. So, like, is he ever going to be good enough to do it? And I think it was sort of Kenny Duker all those years ago at Gretna, wasn't it? He was banging in all these goals at the Lowland League level and then League One, League Two, but then it started to drift the higher he got. So it shows you how difficult it
I
is
think you
to.
just look at Ryan Hardy as well, don't you? Ryan's a
Oh,
really good striker in England, but he struggled with Rangers to get any chances into the first team, and he went to St Mirren. It wasn't really great for him. He had a couple of other loan spells up here, and he done okay. And then he's went to Plymouth, and
yeah,
it's League One, but he's banging the goals in.
yeah. Right, we'll touch on the last two questions and then that'll be us because we've actually got to an hour now, which I wasn't anticipating. Sorry to keep you on for so long, mate.
That's all right.
Jordan saying, do we start bedding in McCrory next season? Or I think he will need to be off. Well, obviously, Robbie's got a year. So, what's your thinking, Kerr? Do you think it'll be John McLaughlin first choice next year if Alan decides to retire and Robbie becomes the backup?
I think it probably will be. I would personally I like a better goalkeeper. I'm not disrespecting John McLaughlin, but I like a better goalie. But if we're going to spend money in other parts of the team, I think John will be fine. You can see when he comes out for cross balls like yesterday, he still come out for cross balls in extra time, and that takes a lot of pressure off the centre backs when I deal with corners and stuff. Because I know Al McGregor's a fantastic keeper, but sometimes not coming off your line put us under pressure at times. John's come out very confident, catches a lot of stuff and gets the play going. His distribution is probably better. So if John's going to be number one next season, I'll be happy with that. Robbie has never really let a team down when he's played, has he? And
No.
he should be number two, and we'll see how it goes. Maybe he'll do what McLaughlin's done next season and this season get the cup games. I'm not sure, but Robbie's never let us down, and if he keeps working hard, like somebody else has mentioned, and he gets his chance, then should try and take it with both hands because I think he has a decent keeper, Robbie. Obviously, I'm not seen a lot of him, but when I've seen him play, he's been okay. He's not let anybody down, but I think it's in John McLaughlin's hands unless we actually go out and buy a better keeper. But I think there's other areas of the team we need to upgrade before goalkeeper.
Okay, Peter saying, what happens to, well, basically last season now is B team? Well, obviously, guys like Alex, Leon, Charlie, and Cole could move up. There'll be some guys that will go out on loan because there's no point in playing certain players again in the lower league. Like, there's no point in having a second season at that level for some guys. Like, they need to go out and play. So it would probably be that Rangers will look at loans. Like, depending on where the player is in his development, it would maybe be League One or the Championship. So I would imagine if somebody like Cole was to go out and loan, I would imagine it would be a Championship team that's trying to win the league or a bottom of maybe the bottom six of the Premier League. Charlie McCann would probably be the same, and there might even be English clubs that would take Charlie McCann on loan. For guys like Robbie Fraser, Adam Devine, I think it's the same thing. It's all about continuing your development. It's about continuing to play. And another season in the lower league's not really going to benefit Robbie or Adam or several of the other players. So, like, the club's probably at that point now where it's all about getting them out on loan at a level where they're going to be developed, where they're going to improve, where they're going to be tested more. So that'll be a busy summer for the B team and for the academy. And it's all about getting the right loans. I think, yet again, that's been another fair criticism this year. Not all of the loans have worked out. Now, some of that can be down to injury, some of that can be down to a loss of form. But I think the club's also got to take some of the criticism, because at times maybe we send players out on loan to clubs where clubs don't utilise the player in the way that we would like them to. And that's why, like, having the B team in the lower league was beneficial for us, because we could keep players in the positions we want them to. But the moment they go out on loan, like, you sort of lose a bit of control in that, and that's where the difficulty lies. And it's important that every loan now is spot on, because it gives the lads the best chance of having a career away from Rangers in the future, and it gives us a better chance of getting a fee. And I think that's where we need to be as a club. Right, I think that will do is just want to thank everybody for joining in the Academy pods over the season. I've really, really enjoyed it. I've had a really good time. The comments have got bigger and bigger over the season. The more people asking questions than ever before. Just want to thank Kerr. He's come on the pod several times this year. Same to guys like Derek and Cammy and many of the other guys who have been on. We're still working on a few things towards maybe some more interviews. So we might have one of those in a wee while's time. If not, we'll see you all back for pre-season, and keep an eye out on the Rangers Rabble Twitter page, because we're going to be doing that giveaway for Tony Weston's signed ball and the signed Leon King boots. Thanks to both the lads for doing that for us. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Take care of yourselves, guys. Thank you.